Hey guys, welcome back to Tip Tuesday. My name is Matthew Sturkey with Stone Mill Log and Timber Homes. Thanks for joining us. Last week we talked about tips for subfloor framing options with regards to web trusses, TGIs, slab construction, 2x lumber. This week we're going to stay on the topic of the subfloor and talk about tips for finishing out the subfloor where it's exposed on the outside wall. The logs will actually sit down on top of the subfloor, get fastened to the subfloor through details that we provide on the plans that will get attached to the subfloor and the foundation wall. But how do you finish that area that's exposed out above your foundation wall and that transition between the foundation and the logs? What does that get finished with? So that's what we're going to talk about this week, is some of the tips for finishing that out. Where you have porch decks and porches, obviously your porch decks are going to cover the subfloor where you do have porches. Behind those decks, you want to make sure that you've got flashing behind them like you see here in this image. But where you don't have decks, how do you finish that area? Well, one way you can finish it is to do a piece of log veneer around the outside face of the subfloor, create that same log look with the ching joint, or if it's a log on log, do the log veneer. That's one option that clients will use sometimes. Another one is just doing what we call a dress band with a rough sawn cypress or cedar or Doug fir that just wraps the outside of the subfloor. Obviously, behind whatever you're putting on that, there would be a flashing detail where the transition is to make sure water doesn't curl back up underneath that transition. The most common finish on that subfloor is in the picture that you see here, which is of the same house, where you've got the decks covering the subfloor. You've got a piece of base trim, a small piece of base trim, where you have that little reveal of the subfloor. And then where you don't have porches, most clients will bring the natural or cultured stone that they're going to have on their foundation all the way up over the foundation wall, over the subfloor, and then they'll flash that transition where it comes into that log wall. And then they'll put an angled water table at the top of that stone to basically shed water away. The goal is to shed water away from the structure. As water comes down the wall, you want it to return out. So that flashing detail at the transition of the stone and the water table and the log is really important to make sure that water doesn't curl back up underneath and transitions away down that water table, that angled water table. And that stone finish will keep everything consistent from the top of finish grade to that transition where that subfloor meets the log wall. So those are three of your more common options for finishing out that subfloor on the outside: the log siding or the log veneer, the dress band out of a rough sawn cedar or cypress or Doug fir or species of your choice. And then most commonly used is the natural or cultured stone finish all the way up to the transition of where that subfloor and log connect, but making sure that you've got a good flashing detail to prevent water from getting back up underneath. So those are the different options for tips on how to finish that subfloor out on the exterior. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have questions about this or any finish details, please let us know anytime. We'd be happy to help. We look forward to you joining us for Tip Tuesday next week. Until then, stay safe and healthy. Enjoy this beautiful weather and take care.